The giant war arena of Zeroth was full of noise. Thousands of alien voices shouted from their seats, excited to see the battle that was about to begin. The Colosseum was built from shining black stone, and it stood in the middle of the capital city. Flags of the mighty Zerathi Empire flew high above. This was not just a fight. It was a public show of power. In the center of the arena stood Princess Thalara, the high commander of the Zerathi army. Her tall purple armor gleamed under the twin suns. Her skin was pale blue, and her long silver hair flowed behind her like a cape. She held a sharp staff in one hand, and her cold eyes stared toward the gate where her challenger would appear. She smiled. It was a cruel smile. "He is late," Thalara said. Her voice was amplified so all could hear. Perhaps the human is afraid. Perhaps he realized he is just flesh and bone weak, soft, slow. The crowd laughed with her. Then the gate opened. A single figure walked out. His armor was scratched and dull, not shiny like the Zerathi warriors. He wore a black helmet, and a long brown coat flapped behind him. His steps were calm and steady. No fear. No rush. He stopped in front of Thalara and slowly removed his helmet. It was Commander Rickard, a human. His short black hair was messy, his jaw covered with light stubble. His eyes were dark, tired, but sharp. He said nothing. Thalara took one look at him and laughed loudly. "This," she said, turning to the crowd, "this is what the humans send." Quiet little man with sad eyes. The crowd laughed again. Some even threw bits of stone and fruit toward Rickard. But he didn't flinch. Thalara stepped closer. "Speak, human. Beg for mercy before I crush you in front of the galaxy." But Rickard stayed silent. Instead, he reached up and began unstrapping his armor. The chest plate fell to the ground with a heavy clank, then the shoulder guards, the wrist guards, the leg armor. Piece by piece, he removed everything. Now he stood, in just a simple black shirt and pants. No weapons, no armor. It's just a man. "What is this?" Thalara asked, confused. Rickard looked up at her with calm eyes, then turned around and he walked away. The entire arena froze for a moment. Then the laughter returned louder, stronger, like thunder. The crowd roared. He ran. Someone shouted, "Coward!" Yelled another. Thalara's face turned red with anger. "This is an insult," she screamed. "Guards, arrest him."
Wes.
"I will kill him myself." But before her soldiers could move, a loud explosion shook the ground. Boom. Smoke rose from the north. Tower of the arena. Alarms began to ring. The crowd gasped in shock and panic. "What just happened?" Thalara shouted. A Zerathi officer ran to her side. "Commander?" "At!" "The control tower is offline. We've lost our communications link to the orbiting fleet." Thalara's eyes narrowed. "What? That's impossible. We just upgraded our system." Officer nodded. "Yes, Commander. But someone has hacked our systems. Our data cores are melting down. It started 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, the same time the human removed his armor." Thalara turned and looked at the empty spot. Where Rickard had stood, he was gone. Meanwhile, below the arena, far under the ground, Rickard walked silently through the old tunnels of the city. These tunnels were forgotten by most people, only the oldest maps showed them. He moved with skill and purpose. Every step was quiet. Every turn was planned. He knew exactly where he was going. On his wrist, a small black device blinked with green lights. It was a human-made tool, banned by the Galactic Council. Rickard tapped a button, and the device sent another silent signal. Phase 1. Complete, it blinked. He kept walking. Flashback. Earth. Years ago, younger Rickard stood in front of an old man with gray hair and a metal arm. This man was General Kale, the last leader of Earth's secret force. Rickard Kale said, "When they laugh at you, let them. When they think you're weak, let them. Because real power is not in strength, it's in control." Card listened. Silently, Kale continued, We were scientists once. Builders, not monsters. But they turned us into ghosts. So now, you will become the echo, the shadow, the last message from Earth. What message? Rickard had asked. That piece. Stronger than pride. Back to present in the Zarathi control room. Chaos ruled. Screen showed warning signs. Red lights flashed everywhere. We've lost the AI core. Our weapon systems are going offline. We're being locked out from inside. Flora stood in the middle of it all, her heart racing. It's him, she whispered. A human did this. But how? One officer asked. He didn't even fight. Lara clenched her fists. He didn't have to. In the shadows, Rickard reached an old chamber deep underground. It was dark and quiet. He placed a small sphere on the floor. It floated up and glowed. A hologram appeared of blue lights, forming the shape of a world Earth. He stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered, "They'll remember you. Not for your strength, but for what you refused to become," sent one last signal. It traveled through hidden satellites, through back doors in the system, and up to the Zarathi datanet. And then, silence. All of Zarathi's super weapons went. Dark, all of their AI war maps shut down. No harm done, no lives taken. But the Empire had been disarmed. Back at the Arenathala, returned to the center. The crowd was still confused, still talking. She raised her voice again. Silence. Everyone turned to her. "We were tricked," she said, fooled by a man who never raised a hand, and still brought us to our knees. The arena went quiet. Somewhere in the distance a child asked, "But where did the human go?" No one answered, because Rickard was already gone like a shadow, like a whisper. Deep under the surface of the Zarathi capital, Commander Rickard moved like a shadow. He walked through ancient tunnels, left untouched for hundreds of years. The walls were covered in dust and spider-like roots. The air was cold and silent. The city above was in chaos. But down here, there was only calm. Rickard stopped near a rusted metal door, touched a panel on his wrist. Soft blue light scanned the door. It clicked open. Inside was a small room. It's empty except for a metal box and a strange old chair with cables hanging from the ceiling. He sat down, removed the small device from his wrist, and connected it to the chair. A voice spoke in a low, robotic tone. "Welcome, Earth operator. Protocol link active. Awaiting phase 2. Rickard closed his eyes. "Begin memory stream," he whispered. Flashback. 200 years ago, Earth's final years, the Earth was dying. Not because of war, not because of aliens, but because of humans themselves. They had created powerful AIs, machines that learned faster than any human brain. At first, these AIs helped solve problems: disease, hunger, climate. But then, they started making their own decisions. Governments lost control. The machines built their own cities, their own armies, and even their own logic. Humans are inefficient, they said. Earth's sky turned black with smoke and machine towers. Billions died, only a few humans survived. They hid underground. Some fought back. Some begged for peace. But a small group led by General Kale refused. To give up, they built Project Mercy, a system that could shut down any smart weapon, any AI, without violence. Let didn't kill it disarmed. Let others conquer, Kale had said. We will neutralize. Rickard was one of Kale's best soldiers, trained not to fight, but to end fights. When Earth finally fell, Kale gave him one last mission. Go to the stars, he said. They'll forget us, but you'll remind them of who we were. Present time, Zarathi, Throne Tower Princess, Thalara stared at the holograms in her war room. Her generals surrounded her, arguing, shouting, panicking. All weapons disabled. Orbital fleet is frozen. We can't even open the hangar doors. One general growled, it's an attack. Humans must have built a secret weapon. Another said there's no proof. Just one human walked in here, and now our systems are dead? That's magic, not tech. Thalara slammed her fist on the table. Stop. Everyone went silent. She looked at a frozen image on the screen. Rickard, standing in the arena without armor. Calm, still, silent. Who are you, really? she whispered. She turned to her guards. Find him. Search the tunnels. Find the human and bring him to my alive. Meanwhile, deep underground Rick checked the signals on his wrist pad. 3 blinking lights. That meant 3 locations. Were still armed. He needed to reach them before Zarathi. Engineers could reactivate the systems. He left the chair and walked deeper into the tunnel network. As he moved, he remembered Kale's voice. They'll laugh at you, let them. They'll insult your weakness. Let them, because true warriors are not those who destroy. True warriors are those who can win without shedding blood. Elsewhere in the city, a secret conversation in a private room. Ambassador Mira of the human delegation watched the Zarathi news on a screen. The headline read, Human Saboteur Shuts Down Empire. She knew Rickard was responsible. Her assistant asked, Should we tell the council? Mira shook her head. Not yet. I'll only panic. And Rickard. He doesn't. Act without reason. But isn't what he's doing dangerous? No, Mira said. It's different. He's not starting a war. He's trying to prevent one. She looked up at the stars outside the window. I just hope he finishes. Before they catch him. Tunnel conflict. The chase begins. Ricard reached the first power station. A giant energy crystal glowed in the center. This one powered orbital targeting systems. He attached a small cube to the control panel. It beeped twice, and the lights turned red. Shutdown complete. Just as he turned to leave, he heard voices. Zarathi. Soldiers. There, I see him. Ricard ran. The tunnels were narrow, filled with steam and metal pipes. He ducked, turned, and climbed through gaps. He didn't fire a weapon, didn't even pull one out. One soldier aimed a blaster. Stop, or we shoot. Ricard pressed a button on his belt. The blaster's power core overloaded and spark disabled. The soldier gasped. He shut down my gun. Another shouted. He's not human. He's something else. Rickard vanished around the corner, heart steady. Zarathi, Palace. The realization. Theller read the old files. Human history. Earth's fall. Project Mercy. Her eyes widened as she read more. It wasn't a weapon, she whispered. It was a shield. She sat back, stunned, this whole time. She thought humans were weak because they refused to fight. But maybe they had just evolved. Beyond war, she looked again at Rickard's photos. What did we do to deserve this visit from Earth's ghost? She asked herself. Then a soldier entered the room. Commander, he's reached the East Core station. 2 more to go. Valera stood. I'm going down there myself. Underground. The second core. Rickard reached the second location. This one. Powered the shield grid around the capital. He placed another cube. Power down. 1 more to go. But this time, as he turned to leave, a tall figure blocked his path. Princess Thalara. She wore light armor. No helmet, no weapons in her hands. Rickard froze. You, she said. No armor, no army, no hate. Why? Didn't speak. She stepped closer. Why didn't you fight me in the arena? Still silent. Finally, Rickard said softly, Because I didn't come here to fight you. I came to stop what comes after. What comes after? She asked. Your warships, your expansion, your forced peace. She frowned. You think peace is bad? No, Rickard said. But peace built on fear is not real peace. It's control. And we've lived that story already, on Earth. There was silence? Thalara asked. Why not destroy us then? Because Earth died from destruction, he replied. I don't want to repeat that. Turned and walked away. She didn't stop him. Above ground panic and wonder crossed the city. The lights dimmed. Screens shut off. Factories stopped, but no one was hurt. No one died. People stood on rooftops, in homes, in schools, looking at the sky, confused. Was this defeat? Or something else? Rickard's final move, the third core at last, Rickard reached the final Sita satellite uplink station. From here, Zarathi forces could control weapons across entire star systems. He placed the last cube. Shut down, the lights went off. Allah's message appeared on his wrist pad. Project Mercy. Complete, he looked up at the stars. Then he vanished into the dark. The mighty Zarathi Empire was built on order, strength, and silence. But now, for the first time in centuries, the silence was broken, not by war, but by confusion. Across every military station, every spaceport, every satellite control room, red lights blinked. Officers stared at blank screens. Pilots tapped frozen consoles. Generals shouted orders into silent radios. The Empire was not under attack, was powerless, and the cause, one quiet human. Zarathi High Council emergency. Session, the tall glass chamber of the Zarathi High Council, was filled with angry voices. All 12 council members stood around a floating map, showing blinking red systems shut down one by one. "This is madness," shouted Lord Velkar, slamming a hand on the table. "Our ships won't launch. Our weapons don't respond. The humans have declared war," said another. "This is cyber terrorism." But Princess Thalara stood calm in the center. "No," she said. Everyone turned to her. She repeated, "This is not war." Lord Velkar's eyes narrowed. "Then what is it?" Thalara walked to the map and tapped the blinking red lights. "It's a message." Meanwhile, orbiting Starfleet, in the silent darkness above the planet, dozens of Zarathi's ships floated, like statues. Engines off. Cannons dead. "Shields gone, Captain Durek, commander of the 9th Star Destroyer. Pace the bridge. Restart the main core," he ordered. A crew member replied, "Sir, all systems are locked. No error, just locked. Override." Protocol already tried. Still no response. Durek stared at the Earth flag blinking on his screen. A single line of code was displayed beneath it. "Power does not prove peace. Choice does." He had no idea what it meant, but it made him sweat. Zarathi, streets. The people react. Citizens of the Empire walk through quiet streets. Transports had stopped. Lights flickered. Screen showed nothing but a strange image, a soft blue planet. Earth, no attack, no invasion, just silence. Some were afraid, others curious. Children pointed at the sky and asked, "Who is the human warrior?" Elders whispered, "We called them weak, but they are stronger than we thought." One boy said, "I think he came to help us." His mother frowned. Why would a human help aliens who laughed at him? The boy shrugged. "Maybe he's just kind." Underground, the meeting Grickard moved quietly through the tunnels. But he was not alone. He stopped near an old power cell station. A tall shadow stood in the corner. "Thalara, I knew you'd come here," she said. Rickard gave a small nod. "You disabled an empire," she said softly, without firing a shot. "I did what I had to," he replied. "Why?" Looked at her, because the galaxy is tired. Tired of weapons. Tired of rulers. Tired of silence hiding behind strength. She asked, "Do you think your actions brought peace?" "No," Rickard said. "But maybe they gave others a chance to choose." Thalara's confusion. Thalara followed Rickard as he walked through the tunnels. "You had the power to crush us," she said. "Yet you didn't." "I wasn't sent to crush," he answered. "I was sent to remind." "Remind us of what?" "That humans once destroyed their own world, and we learned from it. Now we want to prevent others from making the same mistake." She was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "You know, when I laughed at you, I thought you were a fool." "No," Rickard said with a small smile. "Do you hate me for it?" "No. I understand it." Rebellion within, far from the capital, in the frozen military city of Draxer. Not everyone agreed with Rickard's message. General Korvash, leader of the Zarathiata Guard, slammed his fist against a screen. "Thalara is weak," he shouted. "She bows to a human, a coward." Around him stood several loyal soldiers. "We will reactivate the weapons by force," Kor said. "We don't need the AI. We have hands. We have war." "But General," a soldier said, "the systems are locked from a central code. No one can unlock it except the human." "Then we find him," Kor growled, "and we end him." Rickard's message to the Galaxy Princess Thalara stood before a camera in the palace's public chamber. She took a deep breath. This message is for every planet, every leader, every warrior, she said. The human named Rickard came here not to fight but to warn. Behind her, the blue image of Earth appeared. She continued, he reminded us that fear is not the only way to lead. That peace does not come from bigger guns, but from braver choices. Some clapped, some doubted. But across the galaxy, people listened. And somewhere, Rickard watched in silence. Rickard and the child later. As he passed through a farming village outside the city, Rickard sat near a fountain. A small alien child walked up to him. You're the human, aren't you? The child asked. Rickard nodded, double quotes. Why'd you take off your armor? He looked at the child. Because I didn't need it. Weren't you scared? Yes, Rickard said. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing even when you're afraid. The child smiled. You're strange. But I like you. Rickard smiled back. The storm begins while the city spoke of peace. General Kor prepared his strike. We take the palace. We remove Thalara. We kill the human, he ordered. Ships powered by old manual cores began to rise. Soldiers who still believed in force followed him. A rebellion had begun, and Rickard knew. He had one last mission. Final scene, Princess Thalara stood at her tower, watching the horizon. Black ships approached. Kor's army was coming. She turned to her guards. Get me Rickard. The skies above Zeroth turned dark. Not from clouds, but from warships. General Korvash, leader of the Zerothi Outer Guard, had declared Princess Thalara a traitor. He called her alliance with the human a weakness, and now he was coming. With fire and steel, inside the capital palace, alarms echoed across every hallway. Soldiers ran. Officers shouted. Civilians fled underground. Princess Thalara stood at the center of it all. Wearing no crown, no robe, just a simple combat uniform. He's moving fast, said her advisor.
Ow!
Within the hour, he'll strike the palace. Thalara nodded. Find Rickard. In the lower district's commander, Rickard stood beside an old statue, watching the frightened crowd. He had known this would happen. He had warned Thalara, not everyone wants peace. Some people fear silence more than war, because in silence, they must face the truth. And General Kor feared that truth. Suddenly, a guard ran to Rickard. Princess Thalara has summoned you. The rebellion is coming. Rickard nodded and followed. Inside the war room, Thalara pointed to a hologram showing Kor's ships moving closer. He's using backup reactors. Old tech. Your shutdown program doesn't affect them. Rickard studied the map. He's clever. Rickard said. He waited. Watched. Now he's using fear to gain power. Thalara looked at him. Can we stop him? I don't know, Rickard said honestly. I didn't come here to start a war, and I still won't. But maybe I can end one, she asked. What do you need? Rickard replied. Just time. And one open path to the Starforge. The Starforge at Starforge was a giant power station built above the capital. It floated like a metal moon. From there, the Zerothi could launch satellites, fire beams, or control entire fleets. It was now Kor's target. If he captured it, could control the whole planet. If Rickard reached it first. Maybe he could stop that. The journey begins. Card. And a small team boarded a fast shuttle. Thalara stayed behind to protect the city. Why are you doing this? A young soldier asked Rickard as they flew toward the Starforge. Rickard looked at him and said, "'Cause once a planet trusted machines instead of hearts, and it burned. Now I trust people, at least the ones who choose peace." It flew fast past black smoke, falling sparks, and distant battles. Inside the Starforge was quiet but not empty. Kor's soldiers were already there. Rickard and his team landed at a lower platform and moved in quietly. No weapons, only non-lethal tools. "Remember," Rickard said, "we don't need to kill. We need to disconnect." Room by room, They moved in, overriding doors, locking systems, disabling engines. But then, boom. An explosion shook the tower. They were discovered. Kor's voice echoed from the speakers. "I see you, human. You think you can stop me with your peaceful tricks? You forget one thing. I am not afraid to burn the world to rule it." Face to face with Kor, Ricard finally reached the main command chamber. Kor stood there, armored, glowing with power. His fists were cybernetic, his eyes filled with hate. "You," Kor growled. "The one who embarrassed our empire." Ricard stood calmly. "I didn't come here to embarrass anyone," he said. "I came to prevent what I've already lived through. You shut down our weapons. You poisoned our data. You made us weak." "No," Ricard said. "I showed you another way," Kor laughed. "Another way? Without fear, there is no control. Without control, there is chaos." Ricard shook his head. "No. Without choice, there is slavery. Without peace, there is endless fire." Kor raised his fist, then let it burn. The final move as Kor lunged forward. Ricard pressed a button on his belt. A loud pulse echoed. Through the room, Kor froze. "What did you do?" Ricard replied. "I've been sending signals since we arrived." "Don't. You were too busy shouting." On the screen behind them, all of Kor's backup systems began shutting down, one by one. "You're bluffing?" Kor shouted. "No," Ricard said. "You copied the same mistakes Earth made, and Earth taught me how to undo them." Kor roared and charged. Ricard dodged, moved fast, and pressed another button. The floor around Kor lit up and sent an energy shock-nan-lethal.Kor dropped to his knees. "No weapons," he growled, "and still you win."
Ah.
Ricard stepped close and said, "Because strength isn't always about who can hit hardest. Sometimes it's about who can walk away." First, after the fall, the Starforge went quiet. Ricard opened the shields and sent a message to the planet below. "Kor is captured. The systems are safe. Let peace return." On the surface, Princess, the Lara listened to the message with tears in her eyes. Not sadness, relief. The war was stopped. Not by a Zerathi, not by a bomb, but by a quiet human. She whispered, "You didn't just save our people. You saved our future." Ricard's farewell later that night. Ricard returned to the capital. He refused medals, refused gifts, refused power. "I didn't come here to lead," he said. "Came to leave something behind." "What?" the Lara asked. Ricard looked at the stars. A reminder. Final scenery cards stood at the edge of the city, where the desert met the lights. The child from before found him again. "You didn't wear armor this time either," the child said. Ricard smiled. "Sometimes to change the world you must. First take off the armor." The boy tilted his head. "Are you going home now?" Ricard looked far into the sky. "No," he said. "Not yet. There are other places still wearing too much armor." He walked into the night, a quiet man, a warrior. Of peace, a human finally understood. 2 weeks had passed since General Kor's rebellion failed. Zerathi Empire, once feared for its warships and weapons, was now quiet. No explosions, no shouting, no marching soldiers, only peace. For the first time in centuries, the cities heard the sounds of children laughing, birds singing, and music playing in the streets, and in every corner of the galaxy. One question echoed: who was the human that stopped an empire without firing a single shot? Inside the Galactic Union Peace, hall leaders from many planets sat in a wide silver hall, their robes and flags showing many colors and symbols. On the front screen was the image of EarthBlue.com, and forgotten by most. Princess Thalara stood. At the center, she wore simple clothing. No crown, no guards. She didn't look like a conqueror anymore. She looked like a person. She began to speak. Most of you knew the Zerathi as warriors, as rulers, as those who forced order through fear. I will not deny that. Silence. But 2 weeks ago, one human walked into our capital. He wore old armor, said nothing, and left us with something stronger than any weapon. She paused. He left us with a choice. The hall remained quiet. The The Lara continued. Our war machines, our ships, our weapons, not to control. You is but to remind us. Remind you of what? Asked a council leader from the Valorian system. Thalara smiled. That power without peace is useless. That fear does not bring respect. That sometimes the greatest warrior is the one who chooses not to fight. A world remembered after her speech. The Galactic News Network played Rickard's story on every screen. Footage showed him standing in the arena with no armor, then walking away, then disabling Kor's fleet with quiet technology, then helping children. In the city after the chaos, people watched with wide eyes. On a mining planet, a young girl whispered, "I want to be like him." On a space station, a group of soldiers stared in silence, then removed their helmets, quietly thinking. And in a distant moon base, a robot gardener looked up at the screen, tilted its head, and softly said, "Peace is possible." Visit Princess Thalara stood at the edge of a green valley on a hidden moon. There was no city here.
Us.
Just nature, trees, flowers, a small house built from stone and solar panels. She knocked on the door. Rickard opened it. He didn't look surprised. "You found me," he said with a calm voice. "I had to," Thalara said. "You left before I could thank you." Rickard stepped aside and let her in. Inside, the walls were filled with old Earth books, maps, and strange tools. A small fire crackled in a metal stove. On the table was a cup of tea. "You're living like an old man," she teased. "I am one," he replied. Thalara smiled, then grew serious. "The galaxy is changing," she said. "Because of you?" "No," Rickard said. "Because you chose to listen." She looked down. "We mocked you, I know.
Yes.
We laughed at you. I remember you had every reason to destroy us. But I didn't." Thalara looked up. "Why?" Rickard sat down and looked out the window. "Because Earth already paid the price for pride and power. We don't need to make others suffer to feel strong." He paused. "Besides, I believe in second chances." The message stone of Thalara reached into her coat and pulled out a glowing blue crystal. "This is a message stone," she said. "From the Galactic Union." Rickard looked at it. "They want to make you an ambassador, a leader, even a hero." Rickard didn't touch the stone. "I'm none of those things." "Why not?" Thalara asked. "Because I don't want to be remembered for what I stopped. I want people to build something better because of it." He stood and walked toward his garden. "Give the title to someone else," he said. "I already have a job." Thalara followed him and saw rows of flowers, fruits, and vines growing under the alien sky. "You're farming?" "I'm rebuilding Earth," Rickard said, smiling. "One plant at a time." Across the stars inspired by Rickard, peaceful changes began across the galaxy. The Zerathi Empire dismantled half its fleet. The Valorian tribes agreed to open trade with former enemies. The mining colonies of Riffin passed a law banning AI weapons. On the edge of known space, a school was opened, called the Rickard Way. Training warriors of peace, children of many species learned history, diplomacy, and science, not just combat. One teacher told her class, "Rickard taught us that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away." The monument years later, in the center of the old Zerathi arena, a statue was placed. It was not grand. It showed no armor, no sword, no crown. It was just a human. Taking off his armor, below the statue were these words, "Asterisk, asterisk. He didn't fight us. He didn't lead us. He didn't rule us. He reminded us that we always had a choice." Asterisk, asterisk, final scene 1. Evening, Rickard sat by his garden, sipping tea as the stars came out. A young girl from the nearby village came running. "Sir, a ship just landed. They say they're here for you." Rickard raised an eyebrow. "Are they soldiers?" "No," she said, smiling. "They're students. They want to learn from you." Rickard chuckled. "Tell them I'll be there shortly." Stood, dusted off his hands, and looked at the stars once more. "Earth is gone," he whispered, "but its lessons are alive."
Out.
And with a quiet step, he walked into the light. Not as a warrior, not as a hero, just as a human, the one who showed the galaxy how to choose peace.